Republicans, because that's who I paid attention to the most. Although I did pay attention to Democrats, but it ended up in the end Republicans I paid attention to the most. That they have no problem like doing a 180-degree turn and completely forgetting everything that they said the past 2 months even, and then completely on a different track, different mindset, behind a different team.
Exactly. Well, now they're supporting vote by mail, supporting it.
And that is what I was going to make my video about and hold it up, which I have right here, and came in the mail yesterday. It's from the New Jersey State. Let me read it. Let me read this since we're doing our podcast. We're doing our podcast here. This is practice and all. You get to decide and think about whether or not you want to reveal your name or if you want to get a alias or however you want to approach that. Because I'm going to use my name, so you get to decide.
I think I'll be using my Twitter name for the time being.
What is it?
So,
the America First.
America First jersey. Yep.
Man,
America First underscore NJ.
How are we gonna shorten that?
Um.
Like, how am I gonna refer to you here? AFNJ, or like
AFNJ, maybe. Yeah.
You could be NJ First. And then we could have
I'm
this
gonna be NJ
like,
First
pseudo thing where people think you're NJ First and it's actually me and I'm Ryan. And they're like, wait, yo, Ryan created NJ First. And I'm like, no, I talk to NJ First all the time on my podcast. You should watch us. Like, tune in.
That'll be the biggest
That'd
troll.
Yeah, it would be
biggest
funny.
troll of the century. And then at the end, it's like, yeah, about that. That.
At the end, it's like, okay, NJ First, you got to go to jail. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's him. That's not me. No, I'm kidding.
That would be a bad turn of events.
Yeah, you'll just got to come up with a name. Where's America First NJ? I could just, America First NJ. Maybe that'll come off the tongue easy. But that was what I thought about. But anyway, what I was talking about was New Jersey State Senate sent me an application for vote by mail ballot. So I get to it's a application for a vote by mail ballot. And well, I'm not I'm registered to vote in Pennsylvania since 2021. So
looks like they're going against. Looks like they're doing exactly what the Democrats are doing in other states, trying to get other residents from other states to come and vote. You know.
No, that is in jest. I know, that's funny that you could say that and you'd be like, well, I mean, who's to say that they're not doing that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's definitely them just not having current up-to-date information. And,
exactly. Yep.
I mean, like, what I'm holding in my hand right now is a piece of paper. We're kind of in a digital age now. I am more stuff on the internet, which is just the today in society things. But for the vote by mail, I mean, everybody knows the fraud was occurred with the paper ballot, either people going to the ballots with 10 in their hand and stuffing the ballot boxes, or something occurring in the transportation of the ballots with the USPS or something. Anything could have happened. So many things, right? But it looks like they don't care. It looks like they don't care because they're doing it again, right?
Yeah. And it's not even that. Like, even fraud occurred on the small level as well. You've probably had individuals representing their own families, right? Just collect ballots from their own families, right? And then they bring it to the box, right? And they just put it in there, And that would be considered fraud, right? That would be considered fraud because you're technically not the individual putting your ballot inside the ballot box. That's that's a very small level of fraud, right? And that's not even the level that we're talking about. No. About millions of ballots.
Well, certainly. Ironically, in Pennsylvania, right next to Jersey, Governor Tom Wolf, his wife, I think, put both their ballots in the ballot box, and they were accused, and there was this whole scandal thing of them teaching them a lesson of literally they had to teach the governor that was considered a felony, and they dropped the charges. Of course, they were not going to go through with it, and it just was more of a clown face on Pennsylvania's election, saying that there was, if not fraudulent actions, but confused elections. Where stuff like people voted one way and it didn't happen, or even in New Jersey, you vote by mail, you get this link to check up online so you can confirm that your vote was counted, and guess what? It wasn't accepted. Well, if you vote in person, I bet you it's a lot more easier to confirm your ID, and that's what they do
Yes.
in voting in person. It's not just the voting ID that confirms the identification. It's when you go to vote, you sign. You're putting your signature down, and in the end of the day, when they're counting the ballots, they match up that signature to the address of which you voted in the past before or registered to vote, and that's how they authenticate the identification. It's not a literal ID. The voter ID, which we hear about so much in the news, is just an additional security feature to this election integrity stuff, because it is about identification. Like, that's all part of the process already, is identification. But
It should be. It should
yeah,
be. But
yeah,
we're
it should
losing
be.
out on a lot of, they talk about democracy, right? They talk about let's protect our democracy. Let's truly protect our democracy, okay? Let's get voter ID, okay? And we could talk about protecting our democracy, you know? They like to talk about this and that, like, oh, we need to make voting for everyone. Well, we need to make voting for our citizens, right? And they go and they just say, well, we need to do vote by mail, and it has shown this previous elections, I say, because there's always been fraud, when we have vote by mail. And there has been evidence that hasn't been looked by at the court's correct manner, hasn't been taken up by the state legislatures as well. And it just shows that this system just keeps on working against someone. And who is that someone? We don't know. Who do you think that someone is?
I'd say the American patriot, to be honest.
Exactly.
Someone who's
Exactly.
active, aware, reactive.
Yes.
Here, let me read you what the little application says, and what, like you said, the vote by mail. It's elections now. It's the last two that we've had. Because before then it wasn't. There was no vote by mail. The only voting that went through the mail, I'm speaking in specific terms, is the absentee ballot, in which
Yes.
you would request beforehand. Majorly, this would happen with military people, or I guess elderly people who can't get to the polls. And what happens a lot on voting day is, real life accidents happen, real life world stuff happens. People can't make it because they gotta stay at work longer, or people get in car accidents, they can't make it to the polls. Like, that is another reason why voting early, or getting the absentee ballot to make sure that your vote is going to be going through, is a good thing. But let me read you what it says inside this New Jersey
Okay, let me
Republican
hear it.
application. Just a real quick thing. It says your Republican neighbors and your Republican neighbors and your country are counting on you. Voting by mail is a safe and secure way to guarantee your voice is heard. Return this vote by mail request today to ensure your vote counts. Now, this isn't a ballot. It's just an application for a ballot. So it's just them, like you said, encouraging vote by mail. It's interesting.
It is interesting, and I look at that, and it's kind
New
of,
Jersey.
yeah, it's kind of argumentative towards like the whole national GOP. You know, is the NJ GOP looking to cut itself loose from the national GOP? You look at other
Ooh.
states. You look at other states, and I know this is maybe a big statement, right? Is it trying to cut itself off from the parent organization? You know, who's leading this organization that's trying to push this vote by mail? That's a question that's led towards our establishment politicians. You look at the grassroots, right? Those individuals that supported candidates like Phil Rizzo, Mike Crispy, um, who else ran that was anti-establishment? Ian Smith, right? These people that were anti-establishment, the grassroots came out and supported them, and you could see in the
I bet.
gubernatorial primary, right? Those are people, Republicans, that don't that don't support vote by mail, right? So, and there are maybe more that support Jack or other establishment politicians that maybe don't support vote by mail too. So the NJGOP, they're really putting 30 to 40% of Republican voters in this basket of we don't really care about what you think. We're just going to go based off of our own path. We're even going to steadfast away from the national GOP. So this marketing that they're having, they're really trying to seem, and they're really trying to seem some sort of moderateness, right? They're trying to be some sort of moderates. They're going to they want to get Democrat voters instead of pushing, instead of getting their own base. And that's
Yeah.
how it is. That's how it looks like.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really think of that much or put much thought into that. Maybe I should more. I couldn't really tell you which state GOP party New Jersey mimics. It's always the saying that people say whatever happens in California is a precursor to what's going to happen to the rest of the nation, America,
Yes.
and then it was relayed that New Jersey was just copying California. They wanted to be the next Silicon Valley. They've said this before, so then it was whatever happened in California would happen in Jersey, and it didn't work, to be honest. It really didn't work. So that's why New Jersey has this regional approach over here with the states of like Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Delaware. They had Virginia, but Virginia broke away. And you're right that maybe they are having this Yankee, if I will, Northern Union, what else? New Englander, tri-state, GOP. Maybe even the New York is in that. That they're not adhering to what the national GOP is doing. Because you just have to go as far as the Pennsylvania, and it's night and day of vote by mail. Like, it's not encouraged. They had the whole fumble of Act 77, which did the vote by
Yes.
mail, and they admit their fault. They aren't encouraging voting by mail. They're encouraging going to the polls. They're encouraging poll watchers. They have a whole walk as free people movement, and it's just night and day in Jersey. And maybe it's them making a statement saying that they are not like the rest of the Republicans in the nation, and they are the New Jersey Republicans, and they're distinct, and they don't like this populist revolution that's occurred. And yeah, I don't think it's a winning formula. I'm waiting for November to occur just to go back to Assemblyman Robert Auth, to show him that it's better to do what I'm seeing in Pennsylvania occur. People getting invigorated on the ground. Me and you have seen. You've seen March with the March Against Murphy. You saw the recall events getting started. You saw the audit petitions being signed for the affidavits. Like, people are okay with, as well as I am, giving up my time, giving up my gas and mileages on my car to go places to fight for the country, or the idea of it, or the people of it, whatever you want to say it is. So there's definitely people willing to do it, but the New Jersey GOP are, I'd go as far as saying pushing against it, not even not supporting it. They're pushing against it.
They are pushing against it. They want their ideology to be the majority of the GOP. And this is a turning point. I'll say that. This is clearly a turning point in the nation and in this state. And I just want to use New York as an example as well. Just look at the young Republicans in both New Jersey and New York, and look at their gubernatorial races. In New Jersey, the gubernatorial race was very, very close because Bill Murphy was a horrible governor, and he still is. It was tight. Jack made it very, very close. I think a better candidate could have won it, maybe. But, and you also look at New York now. I think it's going to be a tight race as well. Marist poll today was released. Has Hochul up by 8 over Zeldin. Or was it yesterday? It was released recently. Yep. Marist poll. And it's going to be tight if Zeldin doesn't win. Maybe he does win. But look at their young GOP. New York Young GOP, New Jersey Young GOP. Okay? The Young Republicans. In the Young Republicans in New Jersey, we have people that, you know, some, very few are America First, maybe. Very few. But the grand majority are neoconservatives, right?
True.
Yeah. Neoconservatives. In New York, on the other hand, you have this populist rhetoric in the New
True.
York Young Republicans, which is a complete, almost like a 180-degree difference. The NJGOP and the New York GOP are going in two opposite directions. One is embracing that Trumpist rhetoric. That's New York, while New Jersey is edging back towards the old guard of Mitt Romney and George Bush and Dick Cheney. You know, and we don't want that. We don't want that in New Jersey. While the whole nation goes forward, right? They go forward towards this new type of America first, putting the nation first rhetoric. New Jersey's going backwards and saying, we're going to be socially liberal and fiscally conservative. That's the NJGOP. So I don't know. I don't know what the NJGOP has in mind for the future, but they're going to lose a lot of ground game if Democrats change something. If they change a little bit, they're going to lose a lot. I mean policy, especially policy.
Well, that's opening up a whole nother can of worms too.
Yeah.
I'm getting mail from the New Jersey Republican State Committee to apply for a vote by mail application, to apply for a vote by mail ballot. And one, I've never been a part of the NJGOP ever. Two, I voted Republican in 2020 in New Jersey. Only that was the first time I ever voted. First time I ever voted Republican, and I was a registered Libertarian in 2020. 2021, I registered Republican in Pennsylvania. So they had a whole year. Now it's 2 years basically, and the voter roll is not updated. I mean, 2 years is enough time, I'd say, but that's definitely what's going on. They don't update the voter rolls in that enough time, and that's why someone will get thrown off the ballot. A Tricia Flanagan will get thrown off the ballot. A Greg Meal will get thrown off the ballot because the judge is being challenged by the Democrats, Murphys, or anybody, even the Republicans. Yeah, that's even the Republicans. Tricia Flanagan, I believe, and Greg Meal were challenged by the Republicans to say that their ballot signatures for democracy, it's literally just that. And it's in most cases, it's just 100 that they're fraudulent. And half the time it's people who just switched party or just registered and it's not updated on the voter rolls. So, that's to finish up my rant. These libertarians, even in Tricia Flanagan's extent, but these libertarians, Ian Smith too, are trying more than I can say about their party, because I guess I would differentiate about them. Greg Meals became a Republican. Tricia Flanagan, I guess Ian went the other way. They tried, but they didn't try hard enough. I guess I'll definitely say that. They didn't prepare. They didn't try early enough. Preparation is big.
It is big, and I think at the end of the day, like, you could just go full circle, right? And you could point the finger at one group of individuals, and that is the establishment GOP. Who was in charge? Who was the one that kicked off these individuals? Who pushed for it? Establishment GOP, because it was a Republican primary, right? A Republican primary. They wanted these candidates to not run. They didn't want them in the primary. They didn't want them to be a choice in the primary. Now, signatures, we can debate on that. They can debate on that, however much they want to. But at the end of the day, people that are basically circumnavigating this whole process, this whole procedure, is the establishment, without a doubt. Even though I say that the NJGOP wants to become something separate from the national GOP, you can't change the will of the people, nor the will of the voter. And we've seen it before, and we'll see it now. And I think that as much as the NJGOP doesn't want Republican voters to follow that the policies of Trump, the more right-wing policies, it's going to be inevitable. It's going to be inevitable, and they're going to look at it, and they're not going to like it.
America first is inevitable.
Exactly.